This is for the course Beat 4306. This is my Technology Infused Assessment module. Hello, I am Destiny Perez, and today we're going to be discussing things we've learned about ELLs. For those of you that don't know, an ELL is an English language learner. And the definition are students who are unable to communicate fluently or learn effectively in English, who often come from non-English speaking homes and backgrounds, and who typically require specialized or modified instruction in both the English language and in their academic courses. These are my perceptions of ELLs and their needs in the classroom before and after taking this class. Before, I felt that newly arrived ELs should be taught in a separate classroom until they progress out of the beginning till past proficiency levels. However, now I feel that ELs shouldn't be separated from others. They would feel isolated and would not obtain information this way. They should join the others on how they learn in the classroom. Before, I also thought that parents of ELs should try to only speak English to their children even if their proficiency is lacking. Now, after the course, the parents don't need to speak English as long as they're helping us help them by understanding what we are doing and help explaining it. And lastly, before this course, I believe that a student learns a second language the same way they learn their native language. And now, after taking this course, their first language acquisition is different and easier, especially if they learned the new language when they were kids. So now it's completely different than learning a second language. Five common misconceptions about working with ELLs and or learning a second language. Misconception 1. Students should only speak English at home to practice their oral language. False. Encouraging ELLs to maintain and develop their home language while they develop proficiency in English benefits the individual ELL and his or her family. Misconception 2. All ELL students are immigrants. False. Many language learners are not immigrants and are born in the U.S. It is important to be mindful and empathetic to the backgrounds of our learners to help us meet their learning needs and create a safe classroom culture for them. Misconception 3. Students need simplified content and language as they learn English. False. Simplified language decreases rather than increases meaning. Things should be amplified, not simplified. These challenges are beneficial to their learning. Misconception number 4. Students cannot use their first language in the classroom. False. EL students should be encouraged to speak their first language in the classroom. By allowing students to speak in their native language, it actually helps them to learn the English language by allowing that student to choose when they want to speak English rather than forcing them to speak when they don't want to. Misconception 5. To succeed in school, ELLs must assimilate culturally as quickly as possible. False. ELLs need to connect what is going on in their classroom to their own cultural experiences. As for all students, teachers must build on students' prior knowledges. Acknowledging the varying cultural experiences in a classroom increases the quality of education for all students. Five critical concepts that I learned. Number 1, the PRISM model, language acquisition for school. On the left, this illustrates the interrelationships among the 4 components that influence first and second language acquisition in a school context. The developmental process that all students experience throughout the school years is subconscious and ongoing. The picture listed shows this developmental process by showing the interdependence of all 4 components: sociocultural, linguistic, academic, and cognitive processes, which occur simultaneously. The sociocultural processes is the main idea of this model. Central to that student's acquisition of language are all of the surrounding social and cultural processes occurring through everyday life within the student's past, present, and future, in all contexts: home, school, community, and the broader society. Then there's language development. Linguistic processes, the second component of the model, consist of the subconscious aspects of language development, as well as the metalinguistic, conscious, formal teaching of language in school and acquisition of the written system of language. Academic development. A third component of the model, academic development, includes all schoolwork in language arts, mathematics, the sciences, and social studies for each grade level, social and cultural processes, K through 12, and beyond. Cognitive development. The fourth component of this model, the cognitive dimension, is a natural subconscious process that occurs developmentally from birth to the end of schooling and beyond. All of these four components that I mentioned are interdependent. Now, if one is developed to the neglect of another, this may be detrimental to a student's overall growth and future success. The next critical concept that I learned was the contribution of sociocultural theory to second language acquisition, or the sociocultural theory. Now, the sociocultural approaches to a language and cognitive development were inspired by the ideas of Lev Vygotsky. Vygotsky observed that all human pedagogy, whether between children and their caregivers or in formalized school settings, occur within social and cultural contexts, individual achievement. The most well-known of Vygotsky's theories is the zone of proximal development, which he proposed as a means of understanding the relationship between learning and development. Vygotsky conceptualizes ZPD as a metaphorical space in which social forms of mediation develop, and within which humans appropriate and internalize mediational means. The next theory I learned is input hypothesis. The formula I+1, where I represents input, or a particular stage in the learner's acquisition of a second language, and the +1 represents a level just above the learner's proficiency. Krashen argues that as second language learners learn their L2 in one principal way, through their exposure to comprehensible input. He reasons that if we want learners to develop proficiency in their second language, we must teach it at a level just beyond their comprehension, but scaffold or shelter our instruction to make it comprehensible. The fourth concept that I learned is called threshold hypothesis. Research on cognitive and bilingualism is best explained by the idea of two thresholds. Each is a level of language competence that has consequences for a child. The first threshold is the level for a child to reach to avoid the negative consequences of bilingualism. The second threshold is a level required to experience the possible positive benefits of bilingualism. The fifth critical concept that I learned is the Cummins quadrant theory. This is a quadrant. One axis is concerned with cognitive challenge, and the other of how contextualized the language demand is of an activity. When teaching ELs, take into account how context embedded the setting is and how cognitively challenging the task is in the instruction. The 10 takeaways from this course divided into two for do's and don'ts. The do's are regularly check up on your student, always provide visuals during your lessons, interact with the parents, consider the student's culture, model what is expected. The don'ts for this course are: don't speak too fast, don't get frustrated with them, don't assume they understand everything, don't ban the student from using their native language in the classroom, and do not lower standards or expectations for them. Each one of us can make a difference. Together we make change. I hope you guys found this video useful, and thank you for watching.